10 Most Scandalous and Shocking Facts About Barry Goldwater. Barry Goldwater, a five-term U.S. Senator from Arizona and the Republican Party's nominee for president in 1964, is a figure of significant historical importance. Known for his staunch conservatism and controversial statements, Goldwater left an indelible mark on American politics. This video delves into 10 of the most scandalous and shocking facts about Barry Goldwater, shedding light on the intriguing facets of his life and career. Fact number 1. Childhood and family life. Barry Goldwater was born on January 2, 1909, in Phoenix, then part of the Arizona Territory. His father, Baron Goldwater, was a prominent businessman who founded Goldwater's department store, a key fixture in Phoenix's retail scene. His mother, Hattie Josephine Williams, was of Episcopalian descent, introducing a mix of religious backgrounds into the family. Goldwater's education included a stint at Staunton Military Academy in Virginia, where he graduated before attending the University of Arizona. However, he left college without a degree to join the family business, which was instrumental in teaching him the basics of commerce and public interaction. Barry Goldwater married Margaret Peggy Johnson in 1934. The couple had 4 children: Joanne, Barry Jr., Michael, and Peggy. Barry Jr. later entered politics, influenced by his father. After Peggy's death in 1985, Goldwater married Susan Wexler in 1992, a nurse 32 years his junior, showcasing his penchant for defying expectations even in his personal life. Number 2. The Daisy ad controversy. During the 1964 presidential campaign, one of the most provocative political advertisements ever aired was the Daisy ad, initiated by Lyndon B. Johnson's campaign. Broadcast on September 7, 1964, the ad featured a young girl named Monique Corzilius, counting petals on a daisy. As she counts, the viewer hears a mission control-style countdown which transitions into a powerful nuclear explosion. The implication was clear: Goldwater's aggressive stance on nuclear weapons could lead to nuclear war. This ad, created by the advertising firm Doyle-Dane Bernbach, aired only once during an NBC broadcast of David and Bathsheba but left an indelible mark on the electorate. Its strategic use of fear effectively painted Goldwater as too extreme, contributing significantly to his electoral defeat. The Daisy ad has since been studied as a prime example of the impact of emotional appeal in political advertising. Number 3. Psychiatric evaluation controversy. In what turned into one of the most notorious smears in American political history, the September 1964 issue of Fact magazine featured a shocking headline: 1,189 psychiatrists say Goldwater is psychologically unfit to be president. This publication, orchestrated by the magazine's editor Ralph Ginsberg, was based on a survey that asked psychiatrists to comment on Goldwater's mental stability without ever having conducted a personal examination. The article included various disparaging remarks, suggesting Goldwater was mentally unstable and unfit for office. The backlash was immediate and severe. Goldwater responded by suing Ginsberg and the magazine for libel, ultimately winning a $75,000 judgment in a case that reached the Supreme Court. This lawsuit led to the establishment of the Goldwater Rule by the American Psychiatric Association in 1973, which strictly prohibits psychiatrists from offering professional opinions on individuals they have not personally evaluated. Number 4. The scandalous 1964 presidential defeat. Barry Goldwater's bid for the presidency in 1964 resulted in one of the most significant defeats in U.S. electoral history. He secured only 52 electoral votes to Johnson's overwhelming 486 and won just 6 states, his home state of Arizona and 5 in the Deep South. He captured only 38.5% of the popular vote. His campaign, marked by his candid and often polarizing views, particularly on nuclear weapons and civil rights, deeply alienated the more moderate and liberal sectors of the electorate. This crushing defeat, however, did not signal the end of his influence. Instead, it laid the foundational ethos for the resurgence of the conservative movement in the United States. This movement saw its fruition with the election of Ronald Reagan in 1980, who frequently acknowledged Goldwater's significant impact on his own political ideology. Goldwater's 1964 campaign, therefore, is often viewed as a pivotal moment in shaping modern conservative politics. Number 5. Nuclear recklessness. Barry Goldwater's approach to nuclear weapons during the 1964 presidential campaign was alarmingly bold and became a central theme in his political criticism. He famously argued in favor of empowering NATO field commanders with the autonomy to deploy tactical nuclear weapons at their discretion. This suggestion was first articulated in an interview with the New York Times on May 20, 1964, where he mentioned the idea of using low-yield nuclear weapons in Vietnam to defoliate forest areas and disrupt supply routes, specifically the Ho Chi Minh Trail. The proposal was perceived as reckless by many, fostering a public perception that Goldwater's policies could lead to nuclear escalation and potentially a global catastrophe. This stance significantly damaged his appeal to more moderate and undecided voters, consolidating his image as a candidate who was too radical and dangerous for the presidency. Number 6. Opposition to the Civil Rights Act. Barry Goldwater's stance on the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a landmark in his career and a controversial aspect of his political legacy. On June 10, 1964, when the Senate voted on the Civil Rights Act, Goldwater was one of the 27 senators who voted against it. He specifically opposed Titles 2 and 7, which prohibited discrimination in public accommodations and employment, arguing that these sections infringed on states' rights and private property. Despite his assertion that his opposition was based on constitutional principles rather than racial prejudice, his vote was widely interpreted as supportive of states that wanted to maintain segregation. This decision deeply alienated African American voters and many liberals, casting a long shadow over his political identity. Goldwater's opposition was rooted in his belief in minimal government intervention, a principle that resonated with his broader conservative philosophy but clashed dramatically with the emerging ethos of civil rights in America. Number 7. An unexpected ufologist. Among the lesser-known facets of Barry Goldwater's personality was his fascination with unidentified flying objects, UFOs. His interest in UFOs was not just casual curiosity. He actively pursued classified information related to UFO sightings in government investigations. One of the most notable incidents occurred when he tried to access a secret room at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which he believed held materials related to UFOs. In the 1980s, Goldwater publicly spoke about being denied access by General Curtis LeMay, who warned him never to ask about the subject again. Goldwater's pursuit of UFO-related secrets added an intriguing layer to his public persona, revealing a side of him that was willing to challenge established secrecy and express genuine interest in what many considered fringe or speculative topics. This aspect of Goldwater's character was often seen as conflicting with his no-nonsense political style, yet it endeared him to many who shared his curiosity about the unknown. Number 8. Conflict with fellow Republicans. Barry Goldwater's time in the Republican Party was defined by his battles against its moderate and liberal factions. His most famous clash came during the 1964 Republican National Convention against New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller, who was booed for denouncing extremism. Goldwater's declaration, "Extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice, and moderation in the pursuit of justice is no virtue," highlighted the deep ideological divides within the party. This conflict underscored the growing schism between the conservative base, represented by Goldwater, and the party's more progressive members like Rockefeller and Michigan Governor George Romney. Number 9. Advocacy for voluntary military service. Barry Goldwater championed the shift from conscription to an all-volunteer U.S. military in the late 1960s and early 1970s. His advocacy was pivotal when the Nixon administration officially ended the draft in 1973 following the Vietnam War. Goldwater argued that a volunteer military would be more efficient and better reflect American values of freedom and choice. His efforts were instrumental in passing the all-volunteer force legislation, which significantly transformed military operations, enhancing professionalism and technical expertise. Number 10. Final years and death. After retiring from the Senate in 1987, Barry Goldwater, who had served 5 terms, dedicated more time to his personal interests, including amateur radio and photography. Known for reshaping conservative politics, his views notably softened in his later years, particularly on social issues such as gay rights and abortion, which he began to support openly, reflecting a shift from his earlier conservative stances. In his last years, Goldwater battled Alzheimer's disease, which limited his public appearances and activities. He passed away due to complications from a stroke on May 29, 1998, at the age of 89 in Paradise Valley, Arizona. His death marked the end of an era for American conservatism. Goldwater's funeral was attended by numerous political figures, underscoring his significant impact on U.S. politics. His legacy continues to influence the ideological direction of the Republican Party and American political discourse.